Good morning all and welcome to Offshore Wind Northeast Conference 2020. I'm certain, like the majority of you today, you would much prefer to be at a physical event rather than over a virtual platform. I know I certainly would. However, in these COVID times, we must make do the best we can. Before turning to today's event specifically, I would like to take a couple of minutes to give a bit of a background to NOF for those NOF members here today and also for businesses who are not yet members of NOF. Over the last 15 years, NOF has become established as the leading business development organisation for businesses involved in the UK energy supply chain. We have an extensive knowledge of what is happening across the energy industry and also a vast number of contacts at the most senior level within the energy industry. Specifically, we are involved in oil and gas, offshore wind and also on the emerging energy transition agenda. We cascade this knowledge to our members via a range of business development services aimed at helping our members achieve their own business development objectives. The most recent addition to our range of services is our offshore wind project database, which is home to over 900 projects both here in the UK and also on a global scale. The aim of this service is to give our members a competitive advantage when they are looking to bid for work in a very exciting sector of offshore wind. The value we add is reflected in the number of long-term members that we work with and also with the number of members we have recruited during 2020. If you want to know more about how we can work and add value to your own business development activities, please use the meeting facility today and speak to the NOF team and specifically Paul Livingston, Head of our Business Development. Now, turning to today's event. This NOF event is now a firm fixture in the energy industry events calendar and its profile and importance has grown steadily over the last 5 years. For today's event we have 17 sponsors, all of whom I thank very much for their support, 53 speakers, close to 100 exhibitors and at the last count over 400 delegates signed up to participate over the next 2 days. So there is plenty scope to make new contacts, to obtain the most up-to-date information on what is happening in the offshore wind industry and plenty of opportunities here in the UK and internationally. And on that international theme, we also have delegations from South Korea, India, Mexico, Colombia, Trinidad, China, Canada and Brazil. NOF has considerable experience in these markets for the oil and gas industry and we are extremely keen to take UK companies who are looking to do business in offshore wind in these markets on trade missions in the coming years. So how do you get the best out of today's event? First of all, with the exhibition being open all day, make sure you visit the exhibitors and speak with the exhibitors. And to make it easier for yourselves, bookmark the exhibitors. Also check the programme and book into the sessions that are of interest to you if you have not already done so. By registering for these sessions you will also receive a reminder just as the session is about to start. As we all know, networking is the lifeblood of business, so make sure you connect with other delegates. The details of those you connect with will be available post the event. Please also use the platform's virtual meeting facility. If you have any questions or need any help using Swapcard during Offshore Wind Northeast, please visit the help desk and a member of the NOF team will happily assist you. Finally, as much as we would love to provide you with a bite to eat and a coffee on this occasion, we can't, but hopefully as we exit the COVID era, the NOF team will be able to greet you in person at Offshore Wind Northeast 2021, which will be held on the 23rd and the 24th of November next year at a venue yet to be decided. So please make maximum use of the event today. And finally from me, I would like to invite James Ritchie, Chair of Energy Coast, to provide his own Energy Coast welcome.
Thank you, George, and also a warm remote welcome to Offshore Wind Northeast 2020, our first and hopefully our only virtual conference. I'm James Ritchie, proud host and chairman of Energy Coast, the UK's leading cluster in offshore wind. Offshore wind continues to grow and thrive and is rapidly becoming a mainstream supply of power to all the densely populated coastal regions in our world. The road to 2030 shows an enormous tenfold increase in gigawatt growth to around 220 gigawatts. And I'm very optimistic that the hard felt impact caused by this pandemic today will be a further catalyst towards a green recovery in the world's economy. And I know this is something that I'm also proud to say that the northeast of England and our vibrant, innovative and very resilient supply chain companies will play a major role in supplying. We really want it all from offshore wind. We want clean energy to support the transition into net zero. We want cheaper electricity to bring down the cost of household bills. And we want to create new jobs, sustainable employment for the future. Well, I'm very pleased to report that I believe we can achieve this all together as an industry. It can really offer us all the very full package. Energy Coast in the Northeast has been very busy this year despite obvious challenges. And we're looking into skills, which is being led by Andrew Clark of the Northeast LEP. We have a focused innovation group being developed by Simon Hogg of Durham University. We've launched a fully inclusive supply chain mapping exercise that I'm very excited to share with you some of the results here today. But what I want to just do right now is to thank all those who take a lot of time and effort to champion this great region. We all work very well as a community in the Northeast, and that's why today I'm very pleased to say that we are recognised as the leading cluster in offshore wind within the UK. But let's not just hear it from me, let's hear from others in our region also.
The Northeast track record in offshore wind, simply put, is one of the longest and most prestigious track records in the world. We are home to the first project in the UK where we had the 2 times 2 megawatt turbine site in Blythe, and now we will be playing host to the world's largest project, the Dogger Bank wind farm, with the first phase utilising a whopping 190 13 megawatt turbines.
The supply chain here in the northeast of England is well placed to support that energy transition to a renewables-led energy industry across the world, not just here in the UK, but actually globally, because the supply chain has demonstrated over many, many decades that it can actually adapt to changing circumstances, can develop new technologies, can develop new skills, and also develop new businesses that can really lead the way in getting us through to a net zero target, I think, of 2050.
Offshore wind presents a transformational opportunity for the economy across the northeast. The region has a long-established capability in offshore wind and has the opportunity to create up to 9,000 jobs in the sector by 2025. Our offshore and subsea sectors are already servicing global markets, and as the UK builds on its clean growth commitments, the North East is in a position to be a partner of choice for industry and government.
The offshore wind sector is going to be critical to the future of the Tees Valley. The opportunities that open up with the recent announcement by the government means that we can become a manufacturing centre for the whole of the UK, focusing on new, high-tech, high-value jobs as we go forward. It's equally important that since we currently have a number of companies supporting on the gas sector, as this sector starts to decline, we need to ensure that these employees are retrained and redeployed into the growing sectors.
At Durham University, we have now 8 PhD projects going on in collaboration with Ørsted, the world's largest developer of offshore wind farms. And the key focus areas for the North East are largely around developing operations and maintenance strategies and technologies. Certainly trying to embed smart systems into those areas is a key area where the North East can add a lot of value to the industry.
We have excellent access to market and offshore wind farmers with close proximity to some of the world's largest development opportunities. We have excellent international connectivity into export markets. We also have fantastic development sites with deep water access, heavy load-out capability, and some with enterprise zone status and incentives.
We are already developing a large manufacturing cluster based around a new dedicated offshore quay. This new cluster will act as one of the main manufacturing bases for the UK's offshore sector. The new dedicated facility will be one of the first in the UK to fully focus on this sector. Along with 500 acres of land, there's another 1,000 acres for the wider supply chain and additional port facilities all along the Tees and across the wider North East.
So there are already very, very strong links to the key global OEMs and developers, and then there's lots of potential in the region for the supply chain to feed off those links that exist already in innovation. So we're doing that. That's the role of the Energy Coast Innovation Group, and that group is being strongly supported and administered through both NOF and through the Durham Energy Institute at Durham University.
But the real success behind the North East is in the passion from the SME companies leading the way with innovation across the globe. We are renowned for subsea technology, robotics, cabling, vessel equipment. I often say that you wouldn't be able to find a project anywhere in the world that one of our committee members hasn't played an active role supplying or supporting, be that in China, the USA, Japan, Taiwan, or indeed across the whole of Europe.
The North East anyway has just had a long history in electrical and mechanical engineering too, so particularly in the marine and the offshore sectors. Equinor is a broad energy company. We're part of looking into solutions between oil and gas and low carbon and renewables, and we see a clear role for ourselves in helping facilitate career moves, for example, from the oil and gas sector and also over to renewables. And actually, as a bit of a fun fact, but the Northeast region is actually the second largest hub for oil and gas employees after Aberdeen. And given Equinor's track record in bringing oil and gas workers into the offshore wind sector, this is something we want to contribute with Dogger Bank Wind Farm as well.
Through geography, legacy and ongoing commitment, North East suppliers are able to learn from and boost one another, ensuring each new project builds on the experience of the last and that innovative solutions can be brought forward. Having strong regional clusters like Energy Coast in the North East means projects like Sophia can tap into a wealth of experience and a breadth of skills all in one regional location.
North East is going to play a vital role supporting the green economic recovery, and this again will be led through innovation, as we once did in the North East back in the early 20th century with shipbuilding, and we pioneered the way in subsea marine technologies.
Already, Tees Valley's companies are supplying to the offshore wind sector. But one of the key things we're doing looking forward is the development of the Tees Works site, building a new quay in this area and preparing the land for manufacturing technologies and the manufacturing base for the offshore sector.
Energy and low carbon sectors, including offshore wind, are a key area of economic opportunity and will be throughout that plan, with support and interventions built around themes including job recovery, supporting businesses, communities and infrastructure.
It's extremely important for us to have these regional clusters. If you think of Equinor and SSE Renewables, we set up shop at the Port of Tyne as our operations base, and that's because the North East already has a very strong supply chain cluster. But we believe this is only the beginning of this in the North East.
By supporting the organisation's initiatives, we're getting behind the North East region as a whole, further strengthening its appeal. This is of real benefit to projects like Sophia, developers like RWE and the broader offshore wind industry, encouraging competition, boosting UK and local content and attracting the very best talent to our industry.
The northeast of England is perfectly placed as a cluster, and it has that unique recipe for success to deliver the demands that we see coming in offshore wind. I often say that we have here everything that you need to build a wind farm between Blythe and the Humber, whether it be subsea foundations with the likes of Smulders and Wilton. We've got leading cable technologies with the likes of JDR, specialist cable protection firms with the likes of Techmar, the full suite of offshore installation services from both construction
of the turbines and foundations with the likes of MPI, but also from unique cable installations from the likes of Deep Ocean and Modus. We're involved at the very beginning with the FEED study designs with the likes of Cathy Associates, Agile Tech Engineering. We've got specialist technology and offshore equipment providers with the likes of Royal IHC, SMD, Osbit, Subsea Innovations, to name just but a few. We've got the best port facilities, we've got some fantastic talent and some of the best engineers in industry. We've got that extensive track record and heritage to back it all up.
So I mentioned supply chain mapping, so let me give you some of the stats from our recent survey relating directly to the offshore wind sector here in the Northeast. We estimate that there is more than 400 companies active in the Northeast region today supplying into offshore wind. Of the 230 companies that we surveyed, these businesses are collectively delivering over £5 billion annually in local GDP, and around 1 billion of that, or circa 20% of the business turnover, is directly driven from a result of offshore wind related activities. And remarkably, this is a number that is expected to more than double over the next 5 years to slightly over 2.2 billion, according to our recent survey. These local companies currently employ more than 14,000 people, and of these we estimate that over 4,300 jobs in the Northeast are directly again related to offshore wind. And again, this is a number that we're expecting to double, adding over another 4,500 jobs locally within the next 5 years. Nearly 40% of these businesses are reported to be active exporters into the global offshore wind market. However, this is a number that I'm hoping we could rapidly increase in the Northeast cluster. The current export markets that Northeast businesses are supplying into today in offshore wind are the USA, Germany, Netherlands, Denmark, Taiwan, China, Belgium, Ireland, Japan, Vietnam and South Korea, to name but a few. Half of the respondents to our survey reported that they invest more than 20% of their annual turnover back into R&D, vitally important for innovation, keeping us ahead in the markets today. You've heard me say this many times before, but we really do have it all to offer here in the northeast of England with a very resilient supply chain base for offshore wind. However, work needs to be done to improve local procurement levels, and of course we still have this big concern, which is UK content. So I need to ask the government today that we need this support. UK projects should mean UK businesses. This will give us not only jobs on the back of our own projects in our own waters, but also will develop the skills so that we can then export our technology to be a leading player in the global emerging growing offshore wind market. We have the opportunity, as reported through our survey today, to increase jobs by over 4,500, to export up to the tenfold increasing market opportunities, to make the UK the technology centre of offshore wind, but we must ensure that local content is raising its profile as a critical decision-making factor. I would now like to welcome and introduce the Tees Valley Mayor and long-term supporter of both offshore wind and Energy Coast, Ben Houcham, on screen please.
The Tees Valley already has the skills, it already has the businesses, it already has a huge amount to offer the offshore wind industry, but we're going to go even further with the government's commitment to 60% UK content. We want the large manufacturers to be based in the northeast of England, particularly in Teesside, to be able to build on that fantastic supply chain that we already have. It's why we have 4.5 million square feet of logistics and manufacturing space that's already been approved on the Teesworks site. We're about to get planning for a new 1 kilometre heavy lift quay with construction starting in August 2021, and the first 450 metres of that quay will be complete by January 2022, perfectly timed for the mobilisation and the manufacture of the Doggerbank wind farm in 2023. We've got 1,500 acres of land to be able to capture those manufacturers, which will capture the jobs. It will capture the technology, the innovation, and it will help solidify the supply chains that have built up across the Northeast. So we're prepared to take this on. We're putting our money where our mouth is. We're getting the applications in. We're getting rid of the regulation, and we're making it easy for businesses to invest. And we want businesses in the offshore wind industry to come in on that journey with us to make sure that the Tees Valley is central to the UK's ambitions to continue to lead the offshore wind industry in the world.
Thank you, Ben. Confident as always. Now to hear from also a very active Green supporter, the North of Tyne Mayor, Jamie Driscoll.
Hello and welcome to the Offshore Northeast Virtual Conference. This is a subject that's very close to my heart. I'm well known for my commitment to the development of a green economy. It's scientifically documented that even if the world hits the targets of the Paris Climate Agreement, we'll still see global temperatures rise to 3.2 degrees above the pre-industrial baseline. And they won't be stable there. We'll have feedback effects from deforestation, we'll have melting glaciers reflecting less solar energy, and methane releases from melting permafrost. So while industry has an objective of turning a profit and being financially sustainable, we all have an interest in keeping our planet habitable for our kids and our grandkids. Renewables now account for 40% of the UK's electricity, but electricity only accounts for 12% of UK energy use, which leaves 95% of UK energy not coming from renewables. Fossil fuels move most of our vehicles and all of our planes, and the bulk of our space heating and hot water comes from gas. So demand for electricity will skyrocket as we transition to sustainable energy. But today I want to talk to you about local content, because we have that rare opportunity here for a perfect win-win. If we get the local content up, we create jobs, we build our industries, we generate cheaper electricity, and we provide careers for young people. And we save the planet for generations as yet unborn. The UK's first offshore wind farm was constructed off the coast of Blyth in 2000, and the region has since become an international centre of expertise. We have an established skills base and world-class R&D and testing facilities such as the Offshore Renewables Energy Catapult in Blyth, the Neptune Centre and the Tyne Subsea Hyperbaric Test Facility. Our universities, Durham and Northumbria, are in the world's top 20 for research publications on offshore wind. And the North East is particularly strong in balance of plant, installation and commissioning and operation and maintenance stages, cables and cable protection, jacket substructures and related equipment like cable burial tools are all produced in the North East by well-known companies such as JDR, Smulders, Techmar and SMD. Local businesses such as Osbit and Bell Valves have global reputations. They deliver services internationally. Other companies have chosen to invest in our region, including Baker Hughes and Fabricom. And yet, there remains the potential for up to 4,600 more North East jobs in the direct supply chain, and a further 3,000 to 4,000 jobs supported by the offshore wind sector through the indirect supply chain. The levels of North East content and UK content overall have been low in recent projects such as Doggerbank A and B. The UK has lower local content than other European countries, than the US and the Far East. In fact, some North East businesses are winning more contracts internationally than in the UK. Urgent intervention is needed from government. The next Contract for Difference round is in 2021, and that's to ensure that 30 gigawatts of offshore wind can be delivered by 2030. There are multiple international examples of local content requirements. In Maryland in the US, the Public Services Commission awarded offshore wind renewable energy credits to 2 projects that committed developers for 32% of capex in state. The Jones Act in the USA requires goods shipped between US ports to be transported on ships that are built, owned and operated by US citizens or permanent residents. And in China, from 2003 to 2009, up to 35% of the score in a tendering process was contingent on reaching 70% share of local content in production, not just operation. As the Whitemarsh Review recommended, The government should assess developer supply chain plans and expect developers to achieve 60% of life cycle cost sourced in the UK. And 10% of total capital cost should incorporate intellectual property developed and owned by UK companies. Because the inclusion of a UK intellectual property target would pull new businesses into the sector and crucially ensure that British businesses develop knowledge and capability that will lead to export opportunities. Now, there are different methods to boost UK content, but the simplest and most effective is to score projects with an economic impact assessment. Future contract for difference and leasing opportunities must consider the potential economic growth and job creation impacts of projects in the UK economy. Assessment of economic impact is fully compatible with procurement laws and would not be considered state aid. Applicants would need to produce an economic benefits report with their main application. It would use realistic estimates of local spending to calculate their economic impacts of their plan. And after construction, they'd then submit an economic benefits verification report documenting what was actually achieved. And now that would then be independently validated, and if they fail to achieve their economic impact claims, government could implement a financial penalty. This approach is common in many US states. Now I'm pushing for this with government. I'm working with the supply chain, and I will continue to try and land this. I am going into bat for our sector. There are other factors, infrastructure related. Removing the power cables over the River Tyne and unlocking access to the huge Northumberland Energy Park at Blyth are the most essential improvements, along with the dredging of the rivers and an ongoing programme of infrastructure investment to riverside sites. These are all already in our comprehensive spending review bid, and I've spoken to several ministers about it. Now that's on top of the North of Tyne's existing £24 million investment in our Green New Deal, including our offshore wind infrastructure call and our investments in skills training. But it's achieving the local content that's the big game changer. With that, firms will have the confidence to invest and to commit to R&D and new plant. As I said, it's a perfect win-win. Sustainable jobs, sustainable investment, and a sustainable future.
Thank you, Jamie. Very thought-provoking indeed, and I actually couldn't agree with you more. I feel this is a win-win for all, both in the North East and the offshore wind industry. It's finally my pleasure to welcome with us today our Minister for Business, Energy and Clean Growth. Please welcome on screen Minister Kwasi Kwarteng.
Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure for me to speak to you today, and I apologise that I couldn't make it in person. Last month, the Prime Minister underlined the role of offshore wind in helping us meet net zero and in rebuilding the economy as we recover from COVID-19. He confirmed the raising of our 2030 ambition to 40 gigawatts of offshore wind capacity, and he announced a new ambition of 1 gigawatt of floating offshore wind by 2030. The Prime Minister committed £160 million to develop portside infrastructure to support the growth of a world-leading supply chain here in the UK. To help deliver the level of ambition required to meet net zero, the next contract for difference allocation round is planned to open in late 2021. I know that many of you, many developers and supply chain companies, are all eagerly awaiting this. The United Kingdom is well placed to lead the world in offshore wind and in floating offshore wind. And here in the North East, you are well placed to benefit from this expansion. We've already seen companies such as Able Seaton Port becoming an assembly point for wind turbines, working closely with MHI Vestas. JDR are manufacturing cables in Hartlepool, and Tecmar are providing cable protection. Smulders in Wallsend are supplying Moray East with jackets, and Wilton Engineering are supplying transition pieces for Hornsea. I know last year the Port of Tyne unveiled its Tyne 2050 strategic plan, which strives to make the Tyne a gateway to help transform both the region and the maritime industry. We all recognise that having the right port infrastructure will be crucial to delivering on our ambition to establish a world-class offshore wind manufacturing sector here in the UK. Equinor and SSE have made a multi-million-pound investment in Port of Tyne. This will support the Dogger Bank projects, it will provide 200 jobs in the northeast, and it will build more supply chain opportunities in the region. It is a fantastic opportunity to create more green jobs and build back our economy on a greener and more sustainable basis. You will also know that building a competitive UK-based supply chain is a key priority for me. The government is looking at how we can better enable UK-based companies throughout the supply chain to make the most of the opportunities presented by the growth in offshore wind deployment and in the green transition. Together with the work we are doing to bring forward offshore wind clusters in the northeast, the United Kingdom can continue to lead the world in this key industry in offshore wind deployment. I look forward to delivering this ambition with you and to work together so that we can reach our goal of net zero by 2050. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Now, finally, a big thanks to our long-term supporter and again, our headline sponsor today, Energy Central. You may have heard the announcement recently of the UK government committing the industry and the investment in ports and infrastructure. The video shows one of our key ports, the offshore wind hub, as a prime example of our strength here at home in the northeast of England. If we could now play on screen, please, Energy Central showcase video. Thank you, Energy Central, again. Well, welcome once again, everybody. I urge you to take the opportunity over the next few days to network where you can online, to learn from some of the fantastic presenters that we have here today. Please ask questions, get interactive, debate during the course of the next few days. Offshore Wind Northeast is now officially open. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe, and I hope that we'll be seeing you again very soon.